As you're aware, the public element of this meeting is being live streamed and those participating in the meeting have given consent to their inclusion. The recording will be available on the City Corporation's YouTube channel following the meeting, and it shall be retained for up to 1 civic year. Whilst we endeavour to live stream all our public meetings, technical difficulties may sometimes prevent live broadcast. In these instances, we aim to upload a recording after the end of the meeting. All personal data will be processed in accordance with the Data Protection Act 2018, and for any further information on that, please feel free to contact us. Chairman, any opening remarks?
I'm just checking I've got the right mic. Welcome to everyone, and hopefully we can get through matters speedily. Can we then just move then? I've got nothing to say further, but can we go to apologies?
Yes, thank you, Chair. At item 1, we've received apologies from Wendy Mead, Karina Dostalova, and Jane St. John Davis, and Alicia Silk will be arriving late. Are there any others I should be aware of?
No.
I thought Tim Butcher had mentioned he was away.
Okay, I will
travelling, but I'm not sure.
We saw Deputy Butcher and Edward has just arrived as well. Deputy Butcher early in the Guildhall early this morning and spoke about the meeting, and he indicated some points he wanted to raise, and so I was led by that to assume that he was coming. So
thank you, Chair.
Okay, so I think Town Clerk, that's all the apologies we've got. Then minutes.
Sorry, Chair, just that item.
Oh, declaration. Yeah, declarations under the code. Are you aware of any other declaration? No.
Not received.
Anyone want to make any declarations? Generally, Edward, any declarations you'd like to make? No. Number 3, minutes. So we've got the draft minutes of the Hampstead, Heath, Highgate, Wood and Queen's Park committee. They've been circulated, so we're to agree the public and non-public summary of the meeting held on the 21st of October of this year. They're at pages 7 to 16. Before we do that, does any member of the committee have any amendments? No? Can we put it to the committee then to approve those minutes? Yes, thank you very much. Then for information, we've got the draft minutes of the consultative committee, Hampstead Heath Consultative Committee, and we have to we can note the draft public minutes and the non-public summary of the Hampstead Heath Consultative Committee. That was held on the 17th of November, and they can be found in the supplementary agenda pack. Any there for noting? Okay. Then matters arising from those minutes. I've got a couple of points, but does any member have any matter arising? So I would just like, first of all, to introduce Susanna Baer to this committee formally. She is Head of Development and Partnerships. This is her first meeting, and Susanna, I know that I introduced you to the Consultative Committee, so some of the members will know you, but would you like to make a couple of comments?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good to meet those of you who I haven't met previous meetings. My name's Susanna Baer. I've been in role now for a couple of months, just coming up to my 3rd month. Most recently at the Mayor's Fund for London, so a charity working for young Londoners and working alongside the GLA. So look forward to bringing that and other experience from my career to this role. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Susanna. I look forward to working with you. Could I also introduce online as well from English Heritage, Simon Cranmer?
Hi, pleased to be joining you. Thank you.
I don't know if there's anything else. You don't want to say anything else at this stage, Simon?
No, obviously
fine.
look forward to continuing the good relationship Ken was always had with Hampstead Heath.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And then on the reverse, although Andrew will be addressing us later, but it's a farewell to the committee from, we think, Andrew Impey. And this will be his last meeting, but he will be addressing the committee on the ponds. But I'd like to formally thank Andrew for his work on particularly in respect of dealing with the consultation process on the ponds. I know it was probably something he wasn't anticipating when he first came, and probably didn't come up in his interview at the time, but he's we'll have an update, as I say before. But Andrew, thank you very much for dealing so well with that subject, and we wish you well in your future career in pursuing more biodiversity related matters. Thank you, Andrew. Oh yeah. And just the last thing on matters arising, Tom, you wanted to make some comments on the grant funding model.
Thanks, Chairman. Just
in relation to the consultative.
Yeah, just to outline that we made an invitation to the Hampstead Consultative Committee to send email feedback to the papers that this committee received on the grant funding model, and the deadline for that was on Friday. So officers have collated that at speed, and they'll be excuse me, they'll be considered at this meeting, and we will follow up in writing.
Thank you very much, Tom. And can I now turn then? I've got no further matters arising. Can we then go to the town clerk report of the town clerk?
Thank you, Chair. So at item 4, we have the appointment of a representative from Mansfield Conservation Area Advisory Committee to the Hampstead Heath Consultative Committee. This is for decision on pages 17 to 20.
Those who on the consultative committee will recall that the consultative committee was consulted on the appointment of Dr. Victoria Holt for the Mansfield Conservation Area Advisory Committee and Neighbourhood Association Committee, and there were no. The response was positive. So I'm proposing that it's this committee that makes the formal appointment, and I propose that we do so. Is there anyone, and it's seconded, is there anyone who wants to say anything, and we could move? Agree. Excellent. So if we come to number 5, item 5, which is the revenue and capital budgets 2026-27 for Hampstead Heath. Now I'm going to ask Emily Brennan to just update us following various discussions as to what the position is at the moment.
Thank you, Chair. So in relation to the budget paper, we are proposing deferring this item until the 3rd of February meeting. This reflects concerns that have been raised by the team in relation to the sufficiency of funding. So that will enable us to, really re-baseline the budget to deliver an effective service for the North London open spaces. These concerns have been raised recently with Efficiency and Performance Working Party, and I think members will be aware that these discussions and concerns have been ongoing for a number of years. And it's been agreed that Finance Committee will receive a proposal for a re-baseline budget that accounts for these resource concerns early next year. As such, and as there are changes proposed to the current budget, we will be sharing the draft of the uplifted budget paper as soon as possible. Bill, Marguerite and I are meeting this Friday in order to go through that re-baseline budget and agree it, and we will then share that with your committee as soon as possible, probably the Monday afterwards by email. As these changes are likely to be requesting more funding than is in the current budget paper, they will be subject to consideration by the Finance Committee at their meeting later in February, so we're proposing sharing the information with your committee, as I said, kind of as soon as possible, beginning of next week by paper, and then we will present that information in an updated budget paper, which will come to your committee on the 3rd of February, and will then subsequently go to Finance Committee on the 17th. So we do apologise for this situation where we are proposing deferring the paper, but it is an opportunity that we felt that we didn't want to miss in order to ask for that additional funding. We have been given the permission by the finance chair to do that, and so we really want to take that opportunity. So hence the revised process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so that's going to be deferred for decision in the light of the updated work. So we are not proposing to discuss that matter this evening, because obviously there's further work to be done. If people have points they want to make, I suggested to officers it'd be useful if members can communicate and those to officers, so that given that we're coming back on the 3rd of February, that they can seek to address those in the report, so that we're going to be under a tight time schedule. Tim, yeah, Deputy.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I just ask a general question? As we're moving to a sort of grant-funded model, in the event in the budget that there was a surplus, what would happen to that surplus? Would it go into reserve for a following year, or would it disappear back into the corporation?
So, or just not to, I think that's when we are going to discuss the principle. So if you, and I know Deputy, you did forewarn me of the questions. Can we do those questions on the principle when we come on to the principles? That seems to me that's a general specific, a general point. That's but don't worry, we will be hearing. Yes.
Sorry, one quick, that's very good news. Thank you. We were also looking at, perhaps over the longer term, looking to the big stresses that are coming on the Heath, more people coming, climate change, and think there probably needs to be some sort of view of where we're going to be in 3 or 4 years' time with new impacts on the Heath. But maybe your paper is already addressing that.
I think we will also cover that in the principles paper. So thank you.
Well, yeah, because we're not going to discuss the budget at the moment, but is this another in principle?
Sorry, obviously I'm conscious that not discussing what, it's just that in terms of the way the paper is presented, I'd be very grateful if when it comes back, we can specifically have the surveyor's budget itemised. You may recall last year we delayed the approval of the budget because we didn't have the information. I don't see that information in this current version of the paper. Could we make sure when it comes back that it is there? Because we don't understand, because there's a lot of movements in and out, unsurprisingly, about a budget by the surveyors being spent over several years. So that the headline here about talking about a decrease isn't, of course, what you have if you look over several years, as the local risk budget has remained constant. So we're very grateful that could be picked up. But otherwise, I agree that this should come back. I'm very grateful it's going to be looked at again, because certainly at the moment it was incomplete. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that that's fair enough. That would be very helpful if officers could take on board. This is not specifically about how it's presented, because again, as I said, we did previously have to send the matter back, and we don't want to be in that position on February the 3rd. So that's fine. Good. Thank you all very much. I'm then going to move to item 6, if I may, and this is Andrew Impey is I may not be his swan song. I don't know. We do have swans, so for a verbal update, please, on the ponds. Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. So The final report is being written by the consultant as we speak, so that we hope to have a draft by the end of the year. So just to remind members, the consultation closed on the 25th of November. So it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks to finish that report. You know, we've got just under 40,000 responses to analyse, so quite a lot of data to go through. So the final report, a draft, should be done by the end of the year. By the start of next year, we will have gone through that draft, commented on that draft in January, early January. We'll comment on the draft. That will go back to the consultant and they'll produce a final report, and that will come to SLT. And then it needs to go through all of the various committees. Now, some of the dates for committees do work at the minute in terms of aligning those dates, but we still do need to do a little bit of work. But the likelihood is that the Hampstead Heath Consultative Committee will see that see the final report in early February. The Management Committee, your committee, will see it in mid-February, and then it will go to Policy and Resources around mid-March. Now, this is a 2-stage process, so that's the first stage of the process. In looking at this, your committee and the members on this committee will have a chance to, having seen the final report, to reflect on the report, to ask any questions, to raise any concerns, and then officers and the consultant will take that on board. We will reflect upon that feedback, and then we will write a second decision paper. This will be presented to the committee again in April for a final decision. So that's the order with which things happen. So hopefully that gives you a sense of the time frame of when these things will happen and the fact that it's a 2-stage process, Chair.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Any questions from members on that? Yeah.
Sorry, can I just ask, is it proposed that all of those steps are in public or a mixture of public and non-public? So once we've got the reports, is it anticipated that in the February meeting that'll be dealt with as public or non-public business?
I think it will probably, it hasn't been decided yet, is the answer, honest answer at the moment. I would imagine that the first meeting will definitely be in, I would say, in public. We've always said that this is a transparent process and we want members of the public to understand what we're doing. So I think it would be very good for it to be in public. Whether the second stage of the process is in non-public just because it might be commercially sensitive, I don't know at this stage. So I don't know the honest answer at the moment, but we will certainly give you an answer when we do have that.
Alderman.
Yes, thank you. Just to mention, so this committee next meets on the 3rd of February, not the middle. So I just wondered if that timescale works, only because Andrew was talking about it being middle of February. I mean, I hope it will.
I'll be corrected by officers. We in Corloda had a discussion about whether we would need an extra meeting. I mean, I've taken the view on a number of these topics are meaty, i.e. approving the budget, the ponds, and that you know, it may be necessary that we I'm afraid, and it could be a burden for officers and members, have an additional meeting than try to cram it all in at the beginning of February or move February. The difficulty is because of the timetable for the budget, we can't let it slip because of Finance Committee, and Andrew's update is with the ponds and it can't be as early as the 3rd of February. I think effectively is what Andrew is telling us. So even if I wanted to put them, we wanted to put them together, we can't. So and it may be better that they're not. But at the moment, we're going to be updated with the precise date once we've got the resource allocation from the town clerk and also room allocation. Okay, thank you. Any other? Nope. Okay. So I think item 7, I think effectively, Emily, over to you again. But
the same.
It's the same.
Yes.
It's exactly the same position. It's a bit like Prime Minister's question time to the answer given previously, and so we are then Going to item 8, and I just want to make clear this is the remarketing of cafes. This is the public element of it. So can members bear that in mind when questioning? There will be an opportunity in the non-public session, which obviously contains matters that are commercially sensitive, for members to question, and particularly on aspects and details of it. So I've just asked members to be aware of that. So if I could turn Bill Sasso to provide a brief verbal update on the remarketing for public session. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. As the Chairman mentioned, I want to just provide some context, and much of this information will be familiar to members already, but I think it's helpful to just remind members. So as you know, officers have been directed to competitively market the 5 cafes at North London open spaces. This agenda item contains commercially sensitive information, and it will be more fully discussed in the non-public portion of the meeting. It's necessary for the City Corporation to regularize the arrangements at all of the cafes, as all operators are currently occupying under tenancies at will, which are short-term agreements not intended to be long-term. And in addition, following enactment of the City of London Corporation Open Spaces Act of 2018, the open space charities can now enter into longer-term lease arrangements than was previously possible, and that was a goal of pursuing the legislation. The operator arrangement and offer at all of the 5 cafes has not been market tested since 2016, before 2016, and as registered charities, an obligation exists to ensure that the best overall outcome of the charities and open space visitors is achieved when leasing spaces commercially, which required the competitive remarketing of the cafes. The remarketing process was undertaken to provide greater clarity and long-term security for cafe operators and for open space charities, while supporting investment in the sites and enhancing the visitor experience. In its meeting of February 2025, members of this committee directed and authorized officers to proceed with the competitive remarketing of the cafes. This was done via an external agent, Davis Coffer Lyons, who provided industry-specific support and expertise. Officers are aware of an online petition that has been circulated regarding the cafes that objects to the City Corporation putting its cafes out to tender and seeks that the leases be directly awarded to the existing operators. It's unclear whether the petition relates to all 5 cafes operated on Hampstead Heath, Highgate Wood, and Queen's Park. This petition was not formally submitted to the City Corporation in accordance with our internal corporate governance procedure set out in the standing orders of the Court of Common Council, Standing Order 20, but nevertheless, officers have reviewed and considered it. The petition is available to members to view online, and 7 additional handwritten pages have been shared with officers. Upon examination, officers note that the petition does date back to 2016 and the previous retendering exercise. The majority of the signatures date to that time frame, which involved a different process and different circumstances. The City Corporation is charity trustee of both Hampstead Heath Charity and Highgate Wood and Queen's Park Kilburn Charity, is required to act in the best interest of each charity and its beneficiaries. Therefore, any decision by members regarding the cafes of each of the 3 sites must ensure it furthers the respective charity's objects, provides best value, and delivers public benefit. And competitively remarketing the cafes is consistent with these duties. Officers do note that the current operators of all 5 cafes were invited to participate both verbally and in writing, and all have had an opportunity to submit proposals consistent with the established process. The remarketing exercise is a commercial property transaction, and new leases will be awarded to selected operators at the completion of the exercise. And this happened following consultation with the Hampstead Heath Consultative Committee and the consultative groups for Highgate Wood and Queen's Park. Officers and the management committee, of course, recognize the value of cafes as hubs of community and seek to build upon this. And the remarketing exercise has been directly informed and improved by the previous exercise in 2016, including the development of criteria to guide the review of submissions that focused on both qualitative and financial aspects of proposals received. Consistent with discussions with the management committee, each cafe was marketed as an individual opportunity. The cafes were not collectively marketed as one opportunity for which one bid could be submitted. Interested parties were required to submit individual bids that reflected their offer for each individual cafe. The agent ensured that this approach was communicated to interested parties, and the agent rejected any submissions that made one single offer for the collective operation of multiple cafes. Proposals were invited from all interested parties. As I mentioned, this included existing operators. The remarketing process began in mid-July, and the deadline for submissions was in late September. The remarketing process was not a profit-driven exercise. In reviewing submissions for the award of new leases, consideration was given to numerous criteria, including cafe concept, menu and food offer, environmental management, community and social value, management approach, and experience and references, as well as the financial offer and overall strength of the business plan. The charity's commitment on this approach and its focus on numerous non-financial criteria was proactively communicated via press release and other media communications, as well as through the marketing agent. It is officers' understanding that some potential bidders who initially expressed interest in the opportunity ultimately opted out of submitting bids upon learning of and due to the requirement to submit such detailed information regarding the quality elements of the offer, underscoring the effectiveness of our approach, of communicating our approach. Officers have also considered the proposed investment in the cafe buildings. All interested parties were asked to provide thorough submissions so that their vision and plans for operating the cafes under new leases could be carefully considered. This included requests to provide a concept deck of their vision for the premises, including their proposed menu, business practices, premises design, community contributions, and proven track record. In addition, proposers were asked to respond to a series of questions, which again were informed by the exercise following the 2016 effort. Officers carefully reviewed all of the responses and have made recommendations for each site. In doing so, officers have pursued the best overall outcome for the charity and open space users. Officers believe that the competitive process undertaken has allowed all interested parties to submit submissions that respond to the review criteria and needs of the charity, and that the recommendations that result followed careful review of the submissions and provide the best overall outcome. All successful and unsuccessful bidders will be notified of the results of this process before any public announcement is made. Thank you, members. I hope that was helpful context, and as I mentioned, that will be information that is familiar to some of you.
Thank you, Superintendent. As I said, are there any members' questions? As I say, this is the public element, so it may be that many questions are best held for the non-public. Deputy Chair.
I'm conscious, as you say, it's important there are some elements clearly you need to say in public because it's such an important part of the future of the cafes. I'm slightly unsure what to say about this petition because the consultation committee obviously preceded this. It was a little unclear about whether it had been received or what it said. Can I just be clear, is the approach being taken that though it hasn't apparently met the formal processes you would normally expect for any petition, you are asking us to take it into account, but you'll address what it says? Is that the way forward?
That's correct, Deputy Chairman. There is a formal process for submitting petitions, but it was shared directly with officers, and we have considered it, as I noted.
I don't know if you got. I've looked at the handwritten. There are effectively there's a series that are handwritten, and then there's an online. It's a sort of petition, but it's also kind of like a comments board, really, rather than and so it'll get addressed. But I would have thought we should take it into account, but give it such weight as we think appropriate, given some of the factors that have been identified, and also, I mean, I noted on the handwritten ones that the heading of the petition was sort of "Save Our Cafes" and things. It was not specific to any particular proposal, but I mean, officers will advise us on it. But that's my understanding, that we take it into account regardless of its failure to meet the prescribed process, and indeed we did have to chase quite a bit to actually get it. It's sort of slightly curious. Oh, anyway, yes, Deputy Butcher.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the key to it with a petition is that it should be up to date and refer to the current process. If the majority of signatures relate to the previous tendering in 2016, I personally don't think you can take those signatures into account, and I don't know how many signatures cover recent this current tender. But if that isn't the case, then that would be my view.
I just for I think the position is it's a material consideration for us to consider, but the factors as to whether you give it any weight or how much weight you give it, would be as to the level of specificity, the date, and such matters. They're all matters that it seems to me that we're entitled to take into account. Jason, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I think regardless of the legalities or the sort of the conceptual sort of debate we're having, the fact remains that local residents want a cafe that they can feel is something of their own, and that they can feel is not just some part of some anonymous chain, and they want to feel like it's a local cafe for local people and they get to know the local people there. And I think all of us want to take that into consideration. We've been very clear, all of us, I think, along the way on this, regardless of how this particular petition has been put together. The message that we should be heard loud and clear is that we've heard local residents in whatever way. I've had personal feedback straight to me, as I'm sure other people that live nearby have had similar feedback. We hear that, and I think that will be a strong part of our decision making when we come to discuss this.
It's a matter for individual members. You say residents, but it's again other residents express views equally, and also. So I think the proper approach is, as we've been advised, to take it into account, and then members will then put such weight on it. There clearly are. I think what is clear, there are some people who use the cafes who have very strong views about it, and those have been expressed to us not just in the petition but also directly by email. So. I think that's right. So that being so, I think we can then, if we can, thank you again, Superintendent. Move on to item 8, which is questions on matters relating to the work of the committee. Town Clerk, are you aware of any other matters not otherwise going to be covered?
Actually, I'm not aware of any.
I'm not aware.
Sorry, Chair. Can I?
Yes. Sorry,
it's a request I've made, obviously informally, but can I make a formal request that we look at the Queen's Park Day at the next committee? I'm conscious of this being an ongoing debate, and it appears that there's some matters of principle involved that I think we as a committee ought to help with. So can I? Unless there's anything specifically can be said now, can I just make sure it is
on the agenda for the second?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I believe that will be covered in the paper on fees and charges, so absolutely fine. Thank you.
The aspect that you're interested, sorry,
it's an ongoing discussion. I know it's just that it's not just a matter of what the fee is. It's a matter of what approach we should take as a corporation to someone producing such a successful day, for which we're also engaged. So,
okay. So our officers have heard that. So we're going to be dealing with the fees in on second. So note the deputies wish that we have a slightly wider discussion as to the approach. So item 10, any other business? Yes. I haven't got to item 10.
Sorry, Chairman, I have.
That's all right.
Sorry, I just beat the order. I have one item which is planning permission coming up on Regis Road development. south of the Heath. And 2 points in that. One is there a tower of 26 stories, which will affect the view from the Heath. And secondly, according to Historic England, the development will impinge on the statutory view from Parliament Hill. And I think I'd like the city to engage on that as well, because if it's impinging on the Heath, I think that's part of our remit.
So when you say planning permission, not to be pedantic, you mean a planning application?
Planning application.
Yeah. Yes. So can I just ask Superintendent, are we aware of that? Are we? Yeah.
Yes, Chairman, we are aware of it, and we are going to engage with the planning consultant we have used in the past to ensure we're doing what we can to protect Hampstead Heath.
So, yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So it looks like we are.
Thank you.
Any other? I don't want to jump again to item 10. I think it's safe to go to item 10. Any other business that Chairman considers urgent? And the answer is no. So I can hand over to you, Town Clerk.
Thank you, Chair. So next item 11 is the exclusion of the public. Do members agree to exclude the public?
Great.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Please wait while we stop the live stream and recording.